Welcome to this screencast demonstration. We're going to take our Flags of the World app from the last lesson and further develop it. Now, if you don't have a copy of it, or perhaps it wasn't working properly, don't be concerned, you're in luck. I've provided you with a copy within the lesson materials. So this screencast is actually going to be broken into two parts. So we'll go through the first section, then you'll need to stock up on the tea and the coffee and the water and the chocolate, and then we'll tackle the second one. So what are we going to be doing? Well, we're going to create some custom cells. We're going to be dynamically adding and deleting cells, and we're going to be looking at static table views. Static table views provide an amazing way to present things such as forms and lists to our users. These are things that don't change very often. We're going to be looking at swiping cells to delete and doing those kinds of things that are normal, everyday application things. So we've got quite a bit to go through. As I said, we're going to be breaking this into two sections. So grab a coffee or a tea, maybe a glass of water and some chocolate, and let's get started. So let's take a look at our app. So obviously, to start off with, let's launch our app, the Flags of the World. And it's a working app, so let's build it. Our build succeeded. Let's have a look at it in the simulator. And as it comes up, we're going to see that it's done exactly what we wanted it to do. That's how we left it at the last point. But you'll notice the flags are a little bit small and things like that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make some adjustments to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so let's quit or end the simulator. Now, the first thing we're going to do is select the cell in our interface builder. So I'm going to select storyboard, and I want to come across here to the cell. And I've selected the cell, and now in our attributes inspector, I'm going to set the style to be custom. So click on that, and we've set it to custom. The next thing we're going to do is we want to add a horizontal stack view to the cell's content view. So from our object library, we want the horizontal stack. So I'm just going to start typing that out. Here it is. Move it away so I can see it a bit better, and I drag that in to my cell, and you'll notice there it sits. So what I want to do is now customize its constraints. So I'm going to come down to our constraints, and I'm going to have a value of 0 in each of these and constrain it to the margins. And when I hit add 4 constraints, you'll notice there it is, it's dropped in there. Now we want to add a label and a vertical stack view to our horizontal stack view. So on the left side, we're going to drop a label in that we want to hold our flag. So let's look for the label, and I'm going to bring that in and just drop it in there. And it's in. And you can see it's in our stack view by looking over here and seeing stack view and label. The next thing we want, we said we need a vertical stack. And I'm going to bring that in and drop that also inside our horizontal stack view. And you can see it didn't make it. So I can just drag that in there, and now it's inside it and it's set. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to drop 2 labels into our vertical stack view. And these 2 labels, what they're going to do, one's going to hold the country name and the other one a bit of the information. So let's take a look at that and get our labels back. And I bring that in and I drop that in beautifully. I can see here it's in my stack view. I need one more of those. Bring that in, and I can see that didn't make it in, so I'll just adjust that here, and now they're both inside our stack view. So what I want to do is I'm going to next set this label here. I want to make it look a bit nicer so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to change that to one of the flags. So let's go ahead and do that now. So how I'm going to go about doing that is I need a flag. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to select a flag. Seeing I'm Australian, I'll select the Australian flag and copy it. Copy, just like that. And I come back into my storyboard. I'm going to make sure this label here is the one that's selected. And you'll notice over here, I've got label, and I'm just going to select that and paste in now the Australian flag. And there, the Australian flag is set. So now it's starting to look a little bit like what I want. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to change the system font size, and I'm going to crank that up to 26, make it a little bit larger, and set it to justification in the middle. Now, that's looking good. What we'll notice is over here on the right-hand side, we have two labels, but we can't really see them. So, what we're going to do is select our vertical stack, and we can come back and see that here, and I can just select it in there. And then, the next thing I want to do is set its distribution property to fill equally. So that's here, fill, and I set it to fill equally. And now you can see we've got that set nicely with the two labels there. It can be well and truly seen. The next thing we want to do is called some content hugging, which we discussed in the lecture. So we want the flag to take up as much space as needed, but no more. And we're going to want the labels to consume the rest of the space. So what we're going to do is we'll set the flag's label width to hug its content. So let's have a look at doing that now. So how are we going to go about doing this? Well, I'm going to select the flag. So I've got that selected. And now what I want to do is I want it to consume as much space as possible, but no more, or as much space as is needed. So over here, what I want to do in the size inspector, I'm going to select that and come down to the content hugging priority. And I'm going to change its horizontal one to 252. And you see now that I've done that, what has happened is we've got a change. So this is a number that determines the priority of the auto layout engine and what it places on having the view hug its contents. So the flag label will now be only as wide as is needed. And you can see that that's changed. Our cell is now set up from a visual perspective. Let's quickly build our app and see what happens. So what we get is our flags of the world. It's all there, but it's now looking a little bit strange because we've made some adjustments in our cell, but if you remember, we haven't adjusted anything from our previous code. So we've now got several things happening. What we want to do now is we're actually going to create a custom table view cell class, and that is going to allow us to do all of the other customizations that we want. Let's go ahead and do that now. So let's end our simulator. And to do that, we're going to go up here to File and New and come down to File. Click on that. And what we want to create is a Cocoa Touch class. And we hit Next. And we're going to call it Flag table view cell. So flag is all I need to add to it because it's there already like that. And I want to make sure that it's a subclass of the UI table view cell, which it is. And now I hit next and I'm going to go create. And we now have a flag table view cell. The next thing we want to do is we're going to update the identity of our cell to ensure that it's a flag table view cell. So let's come back to storyboard. And we want to select our cell. And you can see here we've selected our cell. I've clicked it there. And I'm coming back here. And you'll see it is. So I'm here on the identity inspector and the class, the custom class. I'm going to click that and go flag table view cell, inherits from the target, and we have that one set. The next thing we're going to do is we need to create 3 outlets. And the 3 outlets are going to contain the information that we need. We're going to have a flag label, a country label, and a region label as our outlets. So I've got the main storyboard created, and I'm going to come up here and click on showing the assistant editor. And you see I've got the flag table view controller. That's not really the one I want. So I'm just going to play around here. See, it's set to automatic. I'm going to come to manual, flags of the world. And then what I'm looking for is my flag table view cell. And I select that. And you can see this is it here. I'm getting a little bit crammed and crowded. So I'm going to close that off. And maybe move this one just a little bit more, scroll over. So I now can see what I've got. I've got my storyboard and I've got my code. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop or drag across, control drag, creating my outlets. So let's go ahead and do that. And we select the flag and just come across, and you can see here it's popping up, and insert outlet. I let it go. I want it to be an outlet, and I'm going to call this one flag label, and I click connect, and we've got it in there. Let's get rid of some of that already generated code. The next one I want to do is the top label, and that's going to be the country label. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to control drag, control click over onto it, and this time I'm going to call it country. Label, click connect, there it is, and then the last one is get the other label, and this is going to be what I call the region label. So control click and drag across and in, and region label, and click connect. So we now have our 3 outlets, and those 3 outlets are what we're going to be using to display our information. The next thing we're going to do is create a function called update. Now this will use an instance of flag to update the cell's labels using that flag instance. What this does is it moves the setup code from the table view cell for ROAT function into the cell itself. So let's add the code now to the flag table view cell class. So it's going to be a function and it's called update. So let's just start function. Update, and you'll notice David makes a few spelling mistakes. Open bracket, close bracket. I come back inside, and it's going to be with flag, colon, and now it's a type flag. And then, of course, I'm going to need my curly brackets. So we've got that set up. Just give myself a little bit of space. And now what I want to do is I want to set the flag label text to be the flag from our flag. So here we go. Flag label dot text equals, and in this case it's flag dot flag. And it's starting to fill out there for us automatically. The next one is the country label. So country label dot text is equal to, and it's the flag. Okay, so it's flag dot country. And then the last one is we want to do our region label. So we're going region label dot text is equal to flag dot, and we want it to be equal to the region at this point in time. So if we build our app now, let's do that. Let's build it. And here it comes. Okay, the simulator comes up, and you'll notice it hasn't really changed a great deal. We've written some code, but nothing has changed. And the reason for that is we haven't changed the code that actually does the updating within the cells. So that's the next thing we're going to do. So let's end simulator and make the change that we need to do. So we're going to change the table view cell for row at method to ensure that it uses our custom cell. So where are we going to do that? That method is here in our flag table view controller. So we come down into our flag table view controller. I'm going to get rid of this other window for now so I can see my code a little bit clearer. And we're going to go about making some changes here. So I'm looking for the cell for row at. And here it is, cell for row at. And you'll see this is where we change the labels. And what we want to do here is we're going to make a change in our dequeuing. So we have to, as we learnt in the last one, do some changes to the dequeuing in order to make it use our update function. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the first thing we do here is we dequeue. Okay, now we need to adjust a little bit of our code. So when we dequeue, it returns a UI table view cell instance, which needs to be downcast to our flag table view class. And by doing this, it's then going to allow us to use the update with method that we've created. So here we're going to make a small change to this code, and it's really small indeed. So all we need to do is here at the end of this line is we're going to add as exclamation mark flag table view cell, and it starts to come up automatically, and we've done it. So that's the first thing we need to do. Next, we have to get our cell to configure with the update function we created. So let's make the change in the code, making down here where we modify the cell, we're going to actually change it and have it do cell, here we go, cell dot update with flag, and it's flag. And we don't need any of that code that we've already created. We want to still have our cell show reorder control equals true and return the cell. Let's make sure our code is saved and run the app. and let's see what happens here. All going according to plan. We should have exactly what we've got in front of us here. We've made the change. So we're now using our customized cell. What you will see, we have Australia and Oceania, and it's a little bit different to what you were seeing before, because if you remember before, we had created the string to display all of the information. So it is looking a little bit different. And what I leave you with the challenge of here is how would you go about changing the code so that it displayed virtually the same way as before, that is including region and population information. I'll leave you with that to work out, and we'll move on to the next thing. So we're going to have to stop our simulator. So I just hit the stop button. And one of the things I want to quickly point out to us is you'll notice that I've got comments within my code, and we're updating old code. So the comments that are in it are actually related to the previous code. So one of the things that's really important to make sure you're doing as you're building apps is continuing to update the documentation that's within the app so it's understandable. That's really, really, really important. And you've heard all those reallys, and that's because it's that important to do that. Now, one of the things to note is when we are in edit mode, the table view, that's meaning when we've launched our app and we go into the edit mode, the table view will call its delegate method, and in this way, it knows the editing style of the row. What do I mean by that? Well, let's quickly have a look at the editing style for row at method. And as we come down and we find it, and at the moment it's set to none. And you might be going, I don't remember what that is, David. So let's click the run button and get our app up in front of us. And I'm now going to click edit. And you'll notice when I click edit, it opens up into an edit mode, but we don't really see that it's in edit mode. So I'm now going to click the edit again and it turns it off. I'll kill the simulator, and there are a couple of other options here. So what I can do is I can change that to delete. And when I do, and we'll run our code again, you'll see something a little bit different. Have a think. What do you think you're going to see? That's right. We see the delete button, and I can click that and we get delete, and still nothing happens. The reason that is we haven't actually implemented that yet. We'll get to that. So let's turn that one off, hit the stop, and the last one that we can do is we can make this one insert. So dot insert. Let's run our code again. And we're going to see something different this time when we hit edit. We have the plus button to add something. But again, when I'm clicking that, nothing happens because we haven't implemented it. I'll turn that off, end the simulator. And I want to change this one now back to delete and leave it with the delete. Now, when a user taps an editing control, the app needs to respond appropriately to the tap that they've done. So we might display a delete button to confirm their choice, and we look at deleting something. So the user taps to delete, and this means that the table view commit editing style method needs to be executed. And when we execute that, what happens is it needs to update the data model that populates the table view, because if we're clicking delete, we're wanting to remove something from our data model. It also must update the table view itself so that what was deleted is actually removed. Now, this method is provided by Apple. We just need to uncomment it out and make a few changes to it. So let's have a look at this method. It's the commit editing style. So let's scroll through and see if we can find it down here. And this is it here, the commit editing style function. So I'm going to uncomment it out. And now we're going to need to make a couple of changes to it. So we're going to change the code so that when it does delete something, or when delete is selected, it will delete the flag that is at the index path row. Okay, so depending on which one the user taps on, it needs to know which one that is and delete it. So here we come into this code and we're going to just remove that line of code, and I'm going to say flags, because remember it's flags, our array, and it's flags dot remove because we're wanting to remove, and we're going to use this one, this function, and it's remove at, and it's index path dot row. And then we still have the table view dot delete rows at index path with, and I'm just going to say here, automatic. At this point in time, we're not looking at the insert, so I can delete that code. And we now have some very nice running code that when we build and run our app, oops, we got ourselves a lovely fail. So let's have a quick look at what that is. So what on earth could we have done wrong? Who knows? So I'm going to come up here and first have a look, and we see expected curly bracket in class. So I've only been working in here. So I now click on this and I see I'm not getting a lovely matching one. But here I'm getting a matching one. So all I've done is I've actually made an error and deleted one too many curly brackets. So let's now try running our code again. Our build succeeded. Brilliant. Here we go. I'm going to click edit and we're going to delete Australia. It comes up delete and we're done. Australia has now been removed. Now, something that Apple throws in for free is the ability to swipe to delete. So when we implement this delete method, Apple blends or throws in the ability to swipe to delete. So let's have a look at how we do that. I'm going to just come and swipe like that, and I'm done. It has deleted it. Now we've been through quite a lot, and this is where we're going to take a pause in this screencast before we move into the next screencast, where we're going to go about adding and editing flags and their details. So get some more coffee, get some more tea, get some more chocolate, and we'll be back.